What if the secret to success wasn't just talent or hard work, but unshakable confidence? Welcome to Grasp Confidence, the podcast where visionary thought leaders, speakers, and entrepreneurs unlock the mindset and strategies for lasting success. I'm your host, Tara LaFleur-Anders, CEO, two-time best-selling author, and international TEDx speaker, and I can't wait to help you step into the most powerful version of yourself. Let's dive in. What if true success didn't come from doing more, but from aligning more deeply with who you are? Meet LaFleur-Anders, creative wellness coach, storyteller, and founder of Coffee Milk Media. Known for her powerful presence and gift for translating complex ideas into actionable insight. Kay helps leaders and organizations prioritize well-being as the starting point for sustainable impact. Through her signature retreats, workshops, and podcast, Reset with Kay, she equips founders, teams, and change makers to lead with clarity, communicate with intention, and live in harmony with purpose and peace. Her mission? To spark a cultural shift where success and self-care go hand in hand. Tune in as Kay shares her journey, her faith-fueled wisdom, and her bold vision for reshaping how we lead, create, and thrive. This episode will ignite something in you. Absolutely. Kay, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. This is a fun adventure. We met on LinkedIn, hit it off immediately. I learned about you. You learned about me. We met a couple times, and now here we are in podcast world.
Yes, that's a beautiful thing. I love the way that happens organically.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, tell us, a little bit about who you are, what you're doing right now, because you are a woman who, like myself, wears many hats. I can barely keep up with you. But what do you have going on in your life right now that's exciting, Kay?
It's funny because I can hardly keep up with myself too. I'm like, what am I doing today? It's a very difficult question sometimes when people say, "What do you do?" And I'm like, "Today?" But yes, I am Kay LaFleur-Anders. I always like to say the K stands for Keocha because sometimes people think Kay. I am originally from Louisiana. I've been living in the Austin, Texas area, specifically Round Rock, for the past 18 years. And I love it here. I'm a community embracer. Wherever I go, I'm all about like, what can we do in the community? And because of that, we have, and I say we because I have an amazing team, which I'm super grateful for. We are planning a TEDx event here, and it's TEDx Round Rock Women. So that is taking up a lot of my time and energy, but I'm not complaining. I'm super grateful for it. And then also on the other side of things, there's Coffee Milk Media, and we're working behind the scenes in the ideation process for some documentaries, having conversations about apps and animations. Kind of in the ideation stage of everything right now, because what we're focused on at the moment is workshops, storytelling workshops, both for leaders and their organizations, their teams, and some consulting. And then the other side of that, I am a wellness coach, which I try to switch it up a little bit and not say coach as much as I am a consultant. And in that I think that's one of the that's my favorite thing to do, if I'm super honest, because I get to curate and create, spaces where women leaders, for the most part, and founders are coming in for an opportunity to breathe. Like they need a break and they need to focus on themselves. And we get to use things like rest as a strategy, clarity as a strategy, peace as a strategy. So it's very well-being focused because I believe in holistic success. And that we're not just, which we shouldn't be chasing money anyway. There are things that we should be pursuing, like peace, and the money will come. But holistic success really looks at everything as a whole. And it's not just about the financial piece. It's also your social well-being, your emotional well-being, for totality, like a wholeness of success. And so that's my favorite thing to do because I work with a lot of organizations that are in the healing space. And it's beautiful work. It can sometimes get heavy, but it's super beautiful.
I love that. It's interesting. I always wondered why this happened, but I would meet with folks and, I would think they were going to talk to me about branding or confidence or personal development or something like that. And they ended up asking me questions about money and success. And I think this is really important. You hit on something that it's really hard to get people to understand who are chasing money, who are chasing success. When you have internal peace,
Mm.
success is a byproduct of that. And I like to tell this to people because if you're in a state of anxiety, so let's say you're in survival mode, you're thinking about how can I get money? How can I make money? How can I get these things into my life? You're operating from a place of lack and a
Mm.
place of uncertainty, a place of unsustainability. Money is not attracted to that. You're not at the same vibration as money. You're not going to be aligned with money because you're in a survival state. So when you're in a state of peace, when you're in a state of security, the money flows naturally because that's the vibrational state of money. It's a state of already having it. It's abundance, right?
Oh
It's
my gosh.
so hard for me to convince people of this because we live in this culture of hustle, hustle, grind, 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 and people don't understand it. What do you think about that?
I think you hit the nail on the head. It's so true, and I lived it. I lived it, so I know it's true. Chestnut had already started. I started that while I was working at Dell Technology, so I wasn't pushing the publishing house because financially I didn't have to, honestly. And we had like other things going on. My husband had his own business, a sports performance business, so I didn't want to push Chestnut too much. It was fun for me at first
Mm.
until I was laid off. And, I was part of this round of workforce reductions. And immediately, even with a severance, immediately I went into survival mode because I was afraid. And I'm thinking, oh my God, I'm not getting this check every 2 weeks anymore. I have to hit the ground running with this publishing thing. I got to go with it. And what I started doing, because when you're in survival mode, and I want to make sure I stay on topic with finances not being as far as attraction, because you're so right with that. When you're in survival mode, you're not thinking. You're not there's no slowdown because right now is all you're thinking about. There's no sustainability thoughts. There's nothing about long term. There's nothing about the decisions that I make right now. What does that look like in a year? Because that's a real thing, right? The decisions we make right now, we'll see the effects of that next year. There's none of that. You just keep going, keep moving, keep going. And for me, it wasn't that I wasn't making money. I was, but I was lowering my standards as far as like what I was charging because I was just so desperate. Survival mode puts you in a state of desperation. And when you're in a state of desperation, you start to attract those types of people and clients, right? You start to attract these different things because you're not thinking with an abundant mindset. It's really with a lack mindset. Um, and it showed up later. At first I was like, "Oh, this is going. It's going." And then I'm burning myself out, right? I'm burning myself out because all I want to do is survive. Just want to survive, which in hindsight, if I could take it on back and really think about it, instead of going into survival mode, which I do understand why I did, that's a childhood thing. That whole like not wanting to live like this type of thing, right? But had I taken my time and looked at the severance that I had, like I'm like, I have a severance package. I really can invest this. I can take a little bit more time, build the foundation of my business, and then move forward. This is a great opportunity for me to rest, maybe for like a month or so I can get some planning done. But survival mode will have you just moving. And then you start to attract how you're moving. And so you're so right about that. The abundance that we seek, even in business, to be quite honest for me, I feel like I would have had a better financial I guess, boost at the beginning of my business had I really taken the time to work on myself. Had I really taken the time to rest, to take a look at my emotional well-being that had been damaged in different situations. I was grieving my dog last year. I didn't really take a like, I didn't stop to take care of that. Like, it was a number of different things. But you're right, because when I slowed down October through the top of January, I made it a point to say, "Okay, God, this is me and you. We need to have some conversations. I get it. Like, you've been trying to sit me down and you sat me down, and now I'm listening." Right? And so that time that I sat down and I slowed down, that's when I really got the revelation of, okay, but you really need to take a look at yourself, because you've been attracting these things. So that do this with me this time and let me show you what abundance really looks like. And so that's why I focus on holistic success, because if you have healthy relationships in your life, you're successful. That's success. If you know how to regulate your emotions, that's success. Your emotional IQ is raising because that's success, right? It's not just finances. When you work on the internal piece, those things are attracted to you. That's what you're putting out, and it's attracted to you. So I love that you said that, because I 100% believe that anytime somebody leads off with money, I'm always listening for something else. And it's like, then they'll start talking about, but my relationships are breakdown. That's okay. So let's focus on that, because you're probably projecting things on people. That's probably why you're not getting these clients. You have to check your attitude. That has nothing to do with, like, it's a whole thing. And that's why I love speaking about holistic success.
I love that. And, in my first TEDx talk, I mentioned that gratitude is the foundation of confidence,
Mm.
and then confidence is the foundation for success, right? So, really, gratitude is the foundation for all success in life. And why is this? Well, if we think about gratitude, that's a position of already in possession of, is it not?
Mm. Yes.
Right? So, if we're a grateful person, that means that I'm already in possession of things.
Mm.
If I'm operating in a state of lack of gratitude, it means I'm wanting things. And if you're wanting of anything, you're projecting lack.
Oh, that's good.
You are projecting lack, and you will attract lack. And you're going to keep attracting the people who are also in that same state. So this is such an important thing, because I really want people to understand this. When I talk about gratitude, it's not a feel good emotion. It's not a fluffy term. This is a real life changing thing, because it does rewire your brain, right? But it's
Mhm.
about rewiring your brain for success. Okay, how many times have we seen somebody win the lottery, or a professional NFL player, sports player, somebody like that, or celebrity come into a big windfall of money and lose it all and then some?
Mhm.
Actually, most lottery winners end up in a greater financial deficit than before they won the lottery. How is that possible? So
Mm.
many people wonder, how is this even possible? It's because they didn't have the sustainability, that when that windfall of money came into their lives, they couldn't hold it. The thing about gratitude is it helps build the vessel,
Mm.
the container, for you to be able to hold it.
Ooh, I love that.
It's so powerful. I could really talk about this for days, and I've been there, I mean,
Yeah.
I'm the youngest of 5 children. We grew up in poverty. A lot of times it was even below the poverty line. I know what it's like to be in a situation of lack. But just because you were once in a situation of lack does not mean that is your entire story for the rest of your life, right?
Exactly, because it was the same thing in my household. Like, my mom was a single mom. She was a young mom. She had me. I'm the oldest. Um, Years later, she got married to my stepdad, had my 2 sisters, and they were married for about 8 years, and then he passed away. So now she's back as a single mom of now 3, right? And my grandparents were amazing in helping my mom, always had been amazing. But when my grandfather passed away, she basically had to figure it out. And so I remember what that looks like, what that felt like, what that looked like, what that felt like. Um, Her not having gas in her car to bring me to school activities, you know, an organization going around giving food away to people and knocking on the door, delivering gifts one year because she didn't have the money to buy presents. Like, I remember that. And so immediately for me, when I was laid off of my job, I'm thinking, I don't like, fear kicked in. And it's like, I don't want my children to know what that feels like. I don't want, like, that whole thing, just being really afraid. But it's funny that you brought up gratitude. I just co-facilitated a cohort last night. It was a session, and that's what it was on. Gratitude and speaking words of life, right? And how that totally shifts your perspective about what you're going through, what you've been through, like all the things. And I remember going for a walk with a friend at the time, and I didn't even pick up on the fact that, and I told this story last night, which is why I brought it up. Um, I remember going on a walk with this friend at the time, and I didn't think I was complaining because I had been so used to just expressing how I feel, right? And so we're going on a walk and we're on this hike, and I'm like, I feel like this, and I'm afraid of this and this. And she said, "Can I tell you something?" I'm like, "Of course." She's like, "You need to have more gratitude. It is a game changer when you find those things to be grateful for, because in every situation, there's something to be grateful for." And she said, "I want you to try it." And so I went home that day because I was like, "Oh my God, I've been over here like complaining." What is, like, I didn't even really think about that because I was just so used to speaking that way. And I went home and I did what she said, which she said, it sounds so simple, but it's so profound. Write down 10 things that you're grateful for. 10 things right off the bat. She was like, tomorrow, write down 10 things that you're grateful for, 10 different things that you're grateful for, and just keep it going and see how many things that you, and every day I made it a point to write down 10 different things that I was grateful for each day. And it was a game changer for me because now, both in business and in my personal life, when I'm speaking to people about things, and it could be heavy, it could be a heartbreak, it could be a loss of a job. It doesn't really matter what it is. My brain immediately clicks to, not necessarily yeah, but, because it's not discounting the realness of what's actually happening, right? But what's the lesson? I remember Charles Stanley, I was listening to him years ago. I was in my early 20s. And he said, and I love this, and I this stuck with me. He said, even when things get super tough in your life, take a step back and say, God, what are you trying to teach me in this moment? Right. And so I remembered that as I was going through this exercise of gratitude, because even when things weren't perfect in that day, I'm like, okay, but what can I learn from that? Right. And so that's what I was grateful for. I learned through those exercises, what I realized is I was super grateful for the lessons. And so I would find a lesson in everything. I'm constantly finding a lesson in things because I actually want to grow. So gratitude also is like, it's like a fertilizer in a way to help you grow. It helps in healing. It helps in relationship, like social connections, when you find those things that you're grateful for, and it attracts abundance as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So right on. I like to think of, you know, our brains as walking a trail. So if you've never walked a trail before, there's going to be sticks and twigs and branches and spider webs and all sorts of stuff down the trail. But the more you walk down that trail, the clearer the path becomes, right? And our brains are the same way. So the first time we walk down the trail of gratitude, and maybe it's not familiar territory to us,
Mm.
but we keep walking down that trail. All of a sudden, the path is well worn, and our brain says, I know where to go. I'll go down this way. So it's a choice. And I think that's really important too, that we choose it. And anybody can do this. It's freely accessible for everyone. But, biblically speaking, I've made it a commitment to myself to reread the entire Bible
Mm.
front to back. And what's interesting is it's right in our faces, right in the book of Exodus. When, that journey that they from fleeing Egypt to the land of milk and honey should have taken 11 days.
Mm.
But what were the people doing? Well, one, they were disobedient, right? We know that much. But also, they were complaining a lot.
Mm.
And I'll have to go back through the book of Exodus and just see how many times it mentions complaining in there, because complaining is the opposite of gratitude. And I can't help but think as I read this, what if they weren't complaining?
Mm.
Would they have gotten to the land of milk and honey, not in 40 years, but in 11 days? Makes me wonder, what do you think about that?
No, I think you're spot on with that because a lot of times, and this is what I've learned in my relationship with God and in that transition last year that I went through. Because what happened was now I'm going full force with Chestnut. God had already given me the blueprint, kinda, not the full blueprint, but an idea of what Coffee Milk Media was supposed to be. The day he gave me Chestnut Publishing House is the day he gave me Coffee Milk Media, but I didn't launch it until a year later, right? And I remember just thinking in that time, God, I don't really know what I'm doing, but you know what? I'm gonna go for it. I'm gonna go full force. But what was missing was I wasn't doing it with him. So I made plenty of mistakes.
Yeah.
I was not taking care of myself as I mentioned before. But in that time, in that really tough transition where he was trying to get me to listen and I wasn't, and then he said, "Okay, you're going to listen." And I was like, "Okay." Right? Just a super tough transition. I started walking in the morning and having conversations with him, and he started to really reveal to me the language that I was using, the
Yeah.
things that I was saying. And then he was sending people my way. Like I have a friend who's amazing at this, and that's because she's done her own work with the language that she uses. And so I would say, "Well, I have to do this and that." And she would say, "Well, or you get to do that." And I'm like, "Oh, well, I immediately felt the difference between get to and have to, right? Complaining a lot of times is because we're in our feelings about something. And that's an issue that I had as far as my emotional well-being. As I mentioned, I wasn't really good at regulating it. To be honest, I was raised in a family where regulated emotions like what's that? Right? You feel how you feel. It's kind of all over the place. And so that was normal to me. I didn't think that that was impeding on anything, but it was slowing down my process. And although I am super grateful for the lessons that I learned in that transition, even though I feel like I went through a category 5 hurricane, right? I'm still grateful for the lessons, but I do see that had I changed my language, had I known, first of all, somebody had to point it out to me of the language that I was using. So I make sure that as I'm teaching on the wellness side, I also share those nuggets about language because what you say, the words that you say, whether you speak life or death, the Bible says it's in the power of the tongue. So what you're saying, if you're complaining, I don't like this. And it shows just how ungrateful we are for the blessings that we do have. And even if a situation is super tough, God, I'm still here. The fact that I'm here means that I have another opportunity for things to change. I have another opportunity to grow. I have another opportunity to heal. I have another opportunity to walk this path that you have provided for me to meet up with whoever you have assigned to me in order to help me in my business, in order to help me in my relationship issues, whatever it is. And so complaining, I really do believe, even for me, looking at myself, that things in the business even we had prior to when I launched my businesses, had we changed our language, had we not been complaining, it wouldn't have taken umpteen thousand years, maybe 11 days, because we create our reality with what we say. The Bible says that life and death is in the power of the tongue. If we say we believe that, then we have to believe that, right? That what we speak is what we will have. And so I always say we were created by the creator to create. He
Mhm.
created us and he created us in his image, right? So he spoke things into existence. And we have that same power to do so because he said that. So if we're complaining, then we're whatever we're speaking, we're really attracting. We're creating what's happening around us, right? But when we come from a place of gratitude, God, thank you for that. Oh, it's raining today and I wasn't, I'm late. This is a big one. I'm running late to this meeting. That was big for me. I don't like to be late. So if I'm running late to a meeting because there's traffic or the weather is super bad and things are slowing down, instead of getting frustrated, I've learned to say, God, thank you for safety. Thank you that you're slowing things down so that I don't get in an accident. I don't know what is happening down the road, 30 miles down the road that I could encounter. Thank you for slowing things down. All of those different things instead of, man, it's taking so long. And what are all the, so our language, what words are we choosing to use? What attitude do we have about it as well, right? Because you can use the right words, but what are your intentions behind those words? So we should actually be cautious of that because that will make the difference between all those years and 11 days.
Oh,
That's a whole book.
it's a whole book. Absolutely.
Yes.
I mean, I really could talk about this forever. It's
Yeah.
such a point of passion for me. And again, it's so important to really examine our lives and
Mm,
have an honest view of it and look at every situation as how is that mirroring myself? How is this mirroring myself? And if you ask that question in a very honest view, you'll start to understand and see the patterns. And if you can manage it and measure it, or if you can measure it, you can manage it. But you have to look at it and really have that honest view first, so that you can change the behavior because it is in our power at all times, whether we like to admit it or not, right?
it really is. We don't like to take responsibility because it's taking accountability.
Yes.
So, it's easier to blame everything else, including God, for things that's not moving in the direction that we want to. But I always encourage others because this is something that I set as a standard for myself to look at me first. Like,
Yeah.
so is that a mindset issue? Is it a heart issue? Is it a belief issue? Is what am I allowing to be? What am I consuming? What am I watching? What am I listening to? What am I engaging in? Like those type of things. Even gossip, being around people, talk about people all the time, like just all of those different things. And I think what helped me the most is that season where I got to take a step back and slow down. Because when you're in the midst of things, you're in it. Survival mode will do that to you, right? We mentioned that earlier. When you're in something, you can't really think or hear or feel like you should because you're moving on to the next thing. But when you take some time to rest and you step back and kind of take a look at things and really go inward for real. And that's why I love writing so much because writing is a great tool for reflection. It's a great tool for diving deep. Just asking yourself a question over and over. If you don't have a journal that has prompts, write your own prompts, right? Ask yourself a question and then continue to ask yourself questions so you can really discover what's at the heart of the way that you think, you believe, you speak, you move in this world. That's very important. And so, yeah, this is the accountability piece is very hard. So it's just easy to just say, well, they did that to me. But it's sometimes difficult to be like, but what did I do? Or what am I doing? Or what am I saying that's attracting these same type of people in my life? That's what needs to be fixed. It's not them, it's me.
Absolutely. Otherwise, it's going to be a record player, and that record
Hmm.
will keep spinning around for perpetuity, right?
Hmm.
We have to be able to examine that with an honest lens. And that's why it's so powerful. So, I mean, this was, $10,000 worth of personal development right here, training. Because honestly, if you can learn this and really apply it, the gratitude piece, the abundance mindset, the attraction mindset, um, everything that we talked about, success, scarcity, and the mirror, and give yourself an honest view, your life will absolutely fundamentally change. And I say this all the time because it's true. The hardest I've ever worked in my life was the year I made less than $30,000. The least amount I've ever worked in my life was the 2 weeks I made $30,000 in 2 weeks or 14 days, whatever it was. There is something to this. One is operating through scarcity, business, glorifying anxiety, glorifying lack. Then there's the space where you are in your natural flow state and and opportunities are attracted to you. And this is why it's so important because, again, if we can learn this and apply it in our lives, there is absolutely nowhere where we can't go. You become an unstoppable force in business. And one thing that I've learned about entrepreneurship, Kay, is that it is the
Oh, yes.
ultimate personal development machine. If you go through entrepreneurship, I don't know what you can't do. Honestly, right?
Oh my gosh. Listen, I tell people when they say, I want to start a business, make sure that you are ready to see you.
Yes, that's right. I
If
love that quote.
if you are not ready
Yeah.
to see, because naturally when we're getting ready to start a business, we're thinking about all the strengths and gifts and talents that we have, right? So we want to take our gifts and talents and our passions and we want to use that and channel that into something that we get to create for ourselves. Yes, for other people, but if we're honest about it, it's for us, right? We want this freedom and time. We want this, the ability to not put a cap on how much money we make, like all of those different things. But entrepreneurship is a mirror.
Yes.
So you're going to see your strengths and you will see your gifts and your talents, but you will also see your weaknesses and you will see those areas where you need to do real work. And the reason why Reset with Kay is just so important to me with the holistic success piece is because what I speak about first in the book that I'm writing is be well to do well. And that's if for entrepreneurs, because if you're not willing to go inside and work on those things inside, then it will show up the way that you are externally in your business. If you have an issue with your personal finances, with being a good steward over your personal finances, with understanding the spiritual relationship with money, with actually respecting money in the way that it should be in your personal finances, if you have an issue with that, that's going to show up in your business. And I know that because it showed up in mine, because I did not have a full understanding about finances because of how I was raised. My grandfather was amazing with money. Like he did that with a sixth grade education in rural Louisiana. He knew where every dollar went. He saved his money. He invested his money. He was really good with that. But he didn't teach his children. So my mom didn't teach me. So I didn't know, right? So I made a lot of mistakes financially in the personal side, on the personal side of things. And that showed up in my business,
Mm-hmm.
lowering my cost, right? Saying to people, oh, that's all you can afford. Okay. But that's not how you run a business. So I had to really learn the hard way. So entrepreneurship, if you're not ready to actually see yourself, mm-mm. I tell people, hey, or start it, but make sure you have a 9 to 5, like something stable, because you could have $10,000 one day and down to $3.57 in your account in like 2 days. And not because yes, because if you're not responsible with money, yes, that, but also in order to grow your business, you have to make investments. So money is constantly going in and out, right? So that things can improve. So yeah, entrepreneurship will show you where you are unhealed. It will show you if you have a communication problem. It will show, like, it will expose you to you. And if you don't take the time to really work on those things, it will show you to other people. So it's a, it's cute, I like to say, to start a business and to say that you're a business owner. That sounds amazing to put it on social media and all those things, but it is hard work. And it is, and personal development is professional development. professional development is also personal development. They go hand in hand, and that's the holistic part of it.
I love that. So true. All the money, the wealth, all of it belongs to God, and He
Mhm.
gives it to the best managers of it.
I love that. Yeah, because you have to be a good steward.
You
You have
have
to go be a good
to
steward.
it. Absolutely. He doesn't want it wasted. He wants it going in the right places. So again, keep these things in mind. These are all this is $10,000 worth of personal development and financial advice right here. Well, Kay, what are the best places online to find you and learn more about you?
Yeah, so the best place to find me right now is really on LinkedIn. That's where I'm sharing all things Coffee Milk Media, all things Reset with Kay, and also giving updates about TEDx. But that's my main place. Now I love Instagram and I'm there. And most if you need like encouragement, if you need what I call founder resets, because I have a cohort that's coming up soon. And it really speaks to the well-being piece of being a founder and a leader and how that shows up in your business, as we just talked about. Instagram is the place to find it because I am a photo fanatic, always taking pictures of something outside. I love just nature altogether. And I tie that into, insights and inspiration for entrepreneurs and founders and leaders. And so those two places is where you can find me.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Kay, for being a fantastic guest. And thank you for everyone who tuned into this episode of Grasp Confidence Podcast. Guys, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and leave a review on your favorite platform so that more listeners see the value of tuning in. We will catch you on the next episode. Take care.